Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 134, Basic AutoCAD for Interior Design, in our weekly Zoom classroom meeting. Module 5 and Module 6. Module 5 is what we'll cover today. We'll touch on Module 6, but this is a 2-week exercise. Is that right, Al?
That is correct. And that video that's up on top in magenta, that also covers a review that we have set aside.
Right. So the videos are color coded in purple. And if we take a look at this first video here, turn off my sound. So this was made September 2020, so last fall. And we went through and we reviewed the text command options. And then we spent quite a bit of time on text here. There's a bit of latency on the computer here. And then we went into creating blocks and details for those blocks, which we talked about last week. So there's a short review of what we've been covering. And then we go into working with Design Center and some of the content that we have available for you. And then we go into Chapter 6, showing how to start applying and tying everything together. Back to the main splash page. Here's our textbook chapters for Chapter 5. If we take a look at those, I already have them open. So we'll take a look at the PowerPoint first. And there's quite a bit of content in here about plot styles that really we don't need to get that in depth with. The idea is to look good on paper as well as in their design aspects. And so AutoCAD is used to be able to configure these visual looks for your drawings, and it does everything. You can have these multi-page layouts, you can have colors that are associated with these paint code schemes that you get at Home Depot. You can match everything perfectly, and then they tell you how to use plotting styles and layouts to get the look that you want on paper, or nowadays it's a PDF, personal document file. So as we look at this chapter, we're looking at how to set up the line weights so that as we draw the different line weights, your eyes will follow the thickness of them. So object lines, exterior wall lines are given for those line weights. And in the past, we would set those with pencils. You would buy different pencils with different leads. When we work with AutoCAD, we work with the layers command. So if we take a look at our drawings and then we look at our layer properties, as we go through and we set up our layer properties, we also want to be able to go through and set up those different line types and line weights for those different elements. Plot styles allow you to be able to print things out with the exact style and colors that you want. And so it's not enough to just be green. You might have to have a specific type of green for your company or a specific type of blue. And your CAD managers will typically set these things up. It's good to know about it and how to set these up. But ideally today, we're going to look at viewports and how to work with viewports. And so let's take a look at that now. What viewports allow you to do is to put these, I would call them a camera view, into model space and then display it in paper. And so paper space means you're going to print that out on a specific space of paper. And we use 11 by 17 paper or B-size paper for the majority of these assignments. And then dependent on the paper size, you create the viewport and you set the scale within the viewport. So as we look at this drawing right here of these conference rooms, what we want to pay attention to is the viewport scale. And so here I have a scale of 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. If I double click within the viewport, I can see that my viewport scale has been set to 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. And we want you to lock these viewports so that you don't change the viewport scale by turning the wheel on the mouse, which everybody does. And so if I click in this viewport here, I can see that it's also 1/8 inch equals a foot. I'm going to lock that. You might notice that there's not a box around the viewport, and that's because the viewport layer is off. If we turn the viewport layer on, and I turn the on button here, or the light on, then we can see the viewport itself. And it's just a box around the outside. We can do circular viewports, we can do square viewports, we can do polygon shaped viewports. You can actually use them to stylize your drawings as well. And that's the difference between a good detailed drawing and a great detailed drawing. And so some of these aspects we're going to touch on. So how do we go and create something like this? The way that we would work this would be in the D2L, we have all the information we need here. So what we first would need would be the title block. So we go to our B-size title block, and we can download and open that. So I'll open that B-size title block. And so here's my B-size title block. And this is not the architectural one. So let me do this again. I need to, I did the wrong one. So I see it now. I will open the arc file. My fault. There we go. And the reason we want the architectural title block is because the architectural title block, the units are configured for architectural units in feet and inches. The next thing that we're going to need is the drawing files themselves. Now you can use your own files, or if you want to, we have them set up in module 5. So if we go to content, and here's our PowerPoint and other things for 5. And we're going to lay out these different conference rooms on a layout with 4 viewports. So we can go, and here are the drawings. These are student files. And so we can download them. And then we can open them. So now I have my conference rooms open in AutoCAD. And then if I come back here to my title block, my B-size title block, this is a viewport. If I click on that and I right click and I look at the quick properties, it tells me that it's a viewport and it's on the viewport layer. So that's terrific. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete that because we're going to create our own. So I'll hit the delete key. And then I want to make sure that my menu bar is on. So I have my menu bar on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the view command, viewports, and then I'm going to create viewports. Now the quickest way is to make 4 viewports. And so we can say 4 viewports. And then what I'll do is I'll click and set those 4 viewports. And it creates a viewport to model space. Now what I need to do is I need to populate the model space with those CAD drawings. And so if I go to this first one and I go to model space, I'm just going to assemble all of these drawings into that one drawing. And so I'm going to say copy with base point, and I'm going to specify a base point, and then I'm going to select the objects to copy, hit enter. I'm going to go back to my drawing, and then I'm going to paste it. And if you paste it as a block, it'll treat it as one object. If you paste it just regular paste, then all the individual line entities will maintain. So that's one. And then if I go to the next drawing, go back to model space, turn off my grid, edit, copy with base point. Here's my base point, select it, enter, switch back to my drawing, paste. And what you want to do is you want to put the drawings far enough apart that when you configure the viewports that you don't necessarily see the other drawing geometry. And we'll do that for the other two. So I'm just going to go here, turn off my grid, edit, copy with base point. Here's my base point, select my objects, hit enter, switch back to my architectural title block. I'm just going to Control V, space these apart, get my last drawing, model space, turn off my grid, copy with base point, select your base point, select your object, hit enter, and then I'm going to go to my drawing and I'm going to paste that in, Control V. I'm going to pause while I let somebody into the conference. Resuming. So what we've done is we've created a drawing with 4 of the conference rooms and this architectural title block. If I go back to the title block, you can see that the viewports have been created, but they haven't been set up. And so if we take a look at the exercise, let's see, what does it look like here? Pause one more time. Resuming, what we want to have is our 4 conference rooms laid out at 1/8 of an inch scale. Now, you can choose which conference rooms. If you choose the ones that I've drawn, great. If you choose your own, great. So I'm going to move this over to my second monitor, and then I'm going to double click in the viewport, and I'm going to set up the scale here for 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. And so as we work with these different scales, we kind of dial them in, and then we pan, and then we lock. Double click, make the viewport active, dial in the viewport scale, pan it over to the next one. And then I'm going to set that scale at 1/8 of an inch and lock it. Come into the next one. And again, they're like windows or TV cameras into our model space. Line that up, dial in our viewport scale, and then lock it. And then lastly, dial in our viewport scale, and then we'll lock it. And then what I like to do is I like to turn off the viewports. And so I'll click outside, and I'll go to my layer properties manager, and I'll go to my viewport layer, and I'll turn it off by turning off this light bulb here. And then if I bring that back, unfortunately I created the layer on the viewports on the wrong layer. Well, that's fine. So to fix that, what I'll do is I'll select it, and I'll select it here. It'll tell me to move to a frozen or off layer. That's fine. That's what I want. And then if I go and I can select all of them, here's what you want to stop. And then when you put the text on, what you want to do is you want to put the text on in paper space. And so if I double click outside of the drawing, And it seems to be glitching a little bit. So I'll type in key space. That's the command. I don't have the newest computer here. And if I want to go and put the text in, I can go with multi-line text box. It's going to make that text 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. And so I'm going to say, let's make this 1/8 of an inch and see if we can make that a 1/4. And I'll type in my information. And I'm going to place it and I'm going to edit it. And so once I place it, I'm going to edit it. I'm going to come back here, click on this. I'm going to make this a little bigger. I can change the location for it. I can double click on it and I can go and set the text out here to be 1/8, a little bit smaller. I can change justification to center. And I can copy that text and edit it. So I'll select it, copy it from here to here to here to here. And then I'll update these exercises. And we're just doing this kind of on the fly. It might not match exactly to the book, but the technique is what we're trying to show here. This one's different. I do have them, but it's just a matter of being able to set this up. I like when everything matches, so I'm going to bring this down so it's about the same level. It lets me go. And then what we want to do is we want to update the title block information. With that, I'm going to take this part out. I don't think we'll need that. That's the basic rundown on how to create viewports for our drawing in Chapter 5. I'm going to say this with my initials on it. And then as we look at how to plot a drawing like this, what we can do is we can actually plot that by saying File Plot. And we'll just say Continue. And we'll say, okay, now plotters are tied to the printer. So last time that I used this title block, it was tied to a printer in room P134. And so AutoCAD configures the printers to the plotters. Now, if we want to print this to a PDF, I can say print to a PDF. Sorry about that, my computer's a little glitchy. Paper size, I'm going to say 17 by 11, B size architecture. And then I want the orientation to be the layout, which is the paper space. We can then center the plot area, if it lets me. We're going to set this up with a AutoCAD print style, and then we can preview it. And we can see how that plot is going to look. Now, it's not exactly centered, so I'm going to hit the escape key here. And I'm going to see if I can set it up for center. It doesn't seem to want to do that with layout, but if I say extents, it will. So I'll leave that extents, and I'll leave it at full scale, because you plot the paper at full scale, and viewports are scaled. We'll preview that. And that's it. We can right mouse click, plot it, and we'll plot it to a file. We can make that. I'll just leave it in the downloads, save it. And then it creates that plotted PDF file that I can read with information. All right, back to the splash page. So you have all the conference rooms. You can download those, go through the textbook information, printing and plotting, and then back to the splash page. All right, that ends our quick review for what is due for Chapter 5. And Chapter 5 will be due October 15th. If we take a quick look at the Chapter 6 information or some of the other information here, we're looking at the AutoCAD Design Center, and we'll be using that to create our drawings. Remember, Design Center is a content manager. So we want to create these drawings that the next part will be the hotel floor plans. And we have this bonus drawing, a wheelchair accessible commercial restroom. And we do this a lot. We do a lot of space planning here at the college. And so having the backups and the figures and things like that all take time. And we can save you a lot of time by downloading the Design Center. So you can download these files. I'm not going to do this because I believe I have them open already. And then I'm going to show you how to do that. We'll pause the recording while I get that set, and then we'll demonstrate that. But I'm not going to. Resuming. So you can download the zip files for the Design Center. If I click on that, you can download it. And my computer is a bit slow, but when you open that, you want to extract it. And then when you're in AutoCAD, you're going to run the Design Center. You can type DC for Design Center. As I look at it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then go and open that file. And so here's my CAD 134, I call it my master file. And then I have the two design centers. If I go to the first design center and I select it, and then I have the content window, I can double click on that. And then if I want to look at appliances, dishwashers, kitchen units, ranges, let's say that we wanted to put a refrigerator here. You can double click on a refrigerator, and then I can go and drag and drop a refrigerator into the hotel room. And let's just say we're going to put it right here. It'll ask us if we want to scale it. If you hit enter for 1, enter again for the same scale factor in Y, and then 0 for the rotation angle. And then it depends on how the block was constructed and where the base point was set. And so we can place that into the drawing. And since this was a three-dimensional, we can then go through and we can go look at it from an isometric view. And we can then come back to our design center. And for example, if we want to look at other things, like plumbing fixtures, we can then take a look at things like toilets. And then as we look at these, we want to look at the blocks. And so we can then go through and add those plumbing fixtures into the bathroom. And then you can orientate those. In the top view, it's easier to orientate things. So we can select that, grab the base point, place it. And I realize I have my 2D geometry on there, but I think we understand it. We'll rotate that. And then we'll move it. And the best way to manage some of that is to just have separate layers. You can have a plumbing 2D layer and a plumbing 3D layer. And then if we look at that from another orientation, and then if we have visual style to it, not a big fan of this palettes. We can start to see how our layouts will take not only a two-dimensional aspect, but a three-dimensional aspect as well. So the basics on Design Center, you can download them. You can use the Design Center content for your CAD drawings. I'm starting to glitch out a little bit here, so I'm going to start to wrap this up. All right, so that's our review for this week in our Zoom classroom meeting. If you have any questions, be sure to email us or instant message us. And I'm going to stop the recording and open things up for questions. Al, is there anything else that I might need to include before I stop the recording?
Just remind them that Chapter 6 is due when? Thank you very much.
All right, ends our recording, and we're going to open things up for questions.